This article. Front campus and back city, double strong, sweet pet, vest, business war, micro ability. The male and female protagonists, in order to find their respective lost codes, go from not looking at each other to falling in love and knowing each other, complementing each other. They cleverly navigate with the black organization, ultimately merge and repair the two incomplete codes, reaping their own love and creating a business legend. At the same time, it also portrays a diverse life with different social statuses and attitudes of various characters. Keywords of the novel. Beijie Poison no pop-ups, Beijie Poison complete collection download, Beijie Poison latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Wind Like Woman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Wind Like Woman. It's November of another year. The north wind suddenly arrived, catching off guard and dragging the weather in the southern capital directly from the edge of summer into winter. A fresh and vibrant north wind bandit swept past him, causing a crisp pain on his face. Meng Xiaobei tightened his clothes and leaned against a corner of the street. She is tired of this cold north wind, just like she is tired of the desolate Lei Gong Ridge. Your grandfather's illness is better. Is he any better? Stone, who had been squatting by Meng Xiaobei's leg to avoid the wind, asked coldly. No, Meng Xiaobei responded and looked down at the cigarette butt in his mouth with annoyance. It's already extinct. Meng Xiaobei flicked his hand and the cigarette butt flew far away from the stone's mouth. Can you endure this winter? Day. Sure stood up and shrunk his neck. My stomach, I'm hungry. I don't know. Meng Xiaobei didn't want to talk too much. His grandfather's body was already critically ill, and after so many years of spending all his money visiting famous doctors without any effect, he gradually began to give up treatment. No, we absolutely cannot let such a thing happen. Meng Xiaobei gritted his teeth secretly. My grandfather's body must receive the best treatment no matter what. My mood is not very bright. After walking along the street for a while, Meng Xiaobei took a turn. She wasn't very familiar with this area and didn't come much. Going any further, it wasn't Uncle Chio's territory anymore, as going up this area could easily cause trouble. Passing through several small alleys and passing through several old buildings. The street is surprisingly quiet. During this period, my luck has been a bit unlucky, and I have hardly found anyone who can rob the rich to help the poor, nor have I encountered any goals that can eliminate violence and ensure good governance. After walking a few laps, Meng Xiaobei's gaze finally stopped at the car with a license plate from outside. There is a tea room in front, and you can tell at a glance that it is an underground gambling house. The cars parked in this area are mostly non-local license plates, and the owners are definitely gamblers. Just it, Meng Xiaobei glanced at the stone. Stone immediately understood and responded happily. The stone hooked its waist and touched it. After inspecting several cars one by one, it stopped next to a stupid car. He took out a small tool from his pocket, pressed his head against the car door, and began to pry at the lock. After playing around for a long time, the lock remained as solid as gold. Someone stole a car. A man's voice came from the hallway. Catch the thief. With a fierce shout, he was full of anger. Kill him. Don't let him run away. Someone immediately roared behind him. Hurry up. Meng Xiaobei's figure flashed to the side of the stone, and he grabbed the stone's arm as he ran into the alley. You're really unlucky, almost succeeded. Stone spat regretfully as he dragged his heavy footsteps. Meng Xiaobei couldn't keep up with the stones when he ran, so it was obviously too exaggerated to carry him on his back. A few people chased after him fiercely, even copying the guy in their hands. After running for a while, not far from the right is the green belt. Meng Xiaobei pulled a stone and hid behind the bushes half a person high, squatting still. Look at the dense growth of this shrub. If you just squat like this, you may be able to avoid it. After listening to the commotion outside, Meng Xiaobei stood up, straightened her clothes, and whistled to the people chasing her, then turned left into another alley. I wipe it, are car thieves so arrogant these days? A few people argued and chased left into the alley. Meng Xiaobei really wants to run and shake off those 800 streets of people, fast as lightning, coming and going like the wind. Afraid of being chased away too quickly, Meng Xiaobei turned back and made a face. There. Hurry up. A few people looked around and finally found their target again, persistently continuing to chase. After walking several people around the streets and alleys, Meng Xiaobei finally stretched his hands and pressed them on his knees, unable to run. Breathing and gasping, staring at her with a resentful gaze, she reluctantly gave up that beautiful figure. Meng Xiaobei whistled again before slowly pacing away. Damn it. The pursuers were exhausted and their hearts were almost shattered. Are you okay? Stone and Meng Xiaobei bumped their heads at the entrance of the alley. They didn't even touch the steering wheel, so they chased after each other so hard. It's okay, Meng Xiaobei glanced at him and pressed down the brim of his hat. Let's go. Where are you going? Shirtu took out his cigarette box and looked at it. Feeling a bit unhappy, he flattened the empty cigarette box and threw it away. Is there any smoke? No, Meng Xiaobei buried his head and walked forward. The phone in her pocket vibrated, and it was set to automatically turn on for L. Meng Xiaobei quickly took a few steps to distance herself from the stone and hummed Bluetooth on her ear. A prompt sound slowly appeared in her earphones. Good evening, dear. Speak up. What do you want to talk about today? Meng Xiaobei pressed his earphones. Being in a bad mood is not conducive to my physical and mental health. Don't forget your task and help me find the missing code for my partner. Elle analyzed her emotions based on her tone and gave advice. Meng Xiaobei. Your stomach currently needs to be replenished with nutrients. There is a restaurant 20 meters ahead and turn left. Please note that there are hyenas appearing there. It is recommended to find another dining location. Meng Xiaobei didn't answer. Since modifying one of Elle's codes, Elle's judgment of her has become more and more accurate. She lightly curled her lips, waved at the stone that fell behind, turned around, and walked straight forward. 20 meters ahead is a dumpling shop. The shop was steaming hot and filled with people, including anyone they knew or didn't know who shared a table with. Meng Xiaobei scanned the shop, and under the light, a pair of pitch-black eyes flickered cold and cold under the brim of his hat. His beautiful and unparalleled face was indifferent, with a hint of wild and unrestrained banditry. Standing inside the small shop, one couldn't help but squint at the bold and unrestrained look on their body. The stubbornness in the bones and the casualness of young people cannot be concealed. This is a girl that cannot be ignored in any situation. The two sat down by the window. Meng Xiaobei and Shirtu each ordered a bowl of dumplings. When Shirshir ran away from home, he was only 7 or 8 years old. When Uncle Chiu discovered him, he was lying beside the garbage bin in the market, unconscious from hunger. The waiter placed 2 bowls of dumplings on the table. Xiaobei, Shirtu stuffed a dumpling into his mouth and bit it down for a while. Thank you just now. Thank you, really brother. Meng Xiaobei raised the corner of his mouth and smiled, don't think too much, I'm not your brother. Although Meng Xiaobei often hangs out with them, he never considers himself to be one of them. The stone remained silent and picked up chopsticks to continue eating. In terms of speed, no one can catch up with me. If you follow me, you will definitely be caught. Meng Xiaobei took a sip of tea and felt as if a hand was gripping and hurting in his stomach. Hey, you. Okay, Stone chuckled foolishly. So, what did you just do? We just squatted together. You've been kicked in the head by a donkey. Meng Xiaobei frowned and pressed his hand against his stomach, hating that iron is not steel. When someone chased after you, they were both gone. Even a fool knew they must have hidden behind a tree. It's not easy for someone like you to survive until now. Xiao Bei, I have to go, Shi Tu said after looking at her, which was almost inaudible. Go home. You're tired of it, aren't you? Meng Xiaobei looked at him steadily, feeling his head explode. It is a secret that the stone wants to leave, but the meaning of saying this is somewhat different. If she doesn't report the situation, it's equivalent to shielding. If she tells the sledgehammer, half of the stone's life will be ruined. The sledgehammer was Uncle Chio's capable assistant, and the stone was afraid of it, causing his heart to tremble. Meng Xiaobei is afraid of Uncle Chio, but unlike a stone afraid of a sledgehammer, Meng Xiaobei is more in awe because he has received his favor from a young age, especially the care of his grandfather. Uncle Chio has a kind face, always smiling when meeting people. His cruelty is hidden deep in his bones, and Meng Xiaobei almost grew up with him, but he did not fully understand his temperament. I must go. The stone gritted its teeth and excitedly picked up its clothes, slapping it haphazardly on itself. How many injuries are there? Countless. Countless, sooner or later. It's all a death. Meng Xiaobei raised his eyebrows in surprise. Shi has been wanting to run for so many years and has been struggling with lack of courage, let alone money. What is this now? Hidden private money. If the sledgehammer finds out about this. It's okay. I really don't want my life. Meng Xiaobei frowned and felt his stomach churn. After countless calls, I finally released my second book. First of all, I would like to thank my friends for their encouragement and support. Secondly, I request that you add my small book to your favorites, and then wave your hand to cast a vote. I would like to express my gratitude before kneeling down. August loves you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Gives you 5 seconds to roll. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 gives you 5 seconds to roll. The shop was still chaotic and noisy, and Meng Xiaobei had already felt the malicious gaze of the group at the table diagonally opposite. Attention, in the front left, within a range of 3 meters, we found a hyena. L issued a third prompt in his earphones. That group of people were all big and thick, dressed in black clothes and pants, with one half squinting his eyes and squinting at Meng Xiaobei. There was only one person with handsome eyebrows and eyes, who kept his head down while eating dumplings, seemingly uninterested in everything happening around him. The noisy atmosphere was shrouded in a layer of dangerous and eerie colors. Someone at the neighboring table whispered softly, "Hey, see that group of people in black ahead, don't provoke them. Did you see the tattoos on their wrists? They are hyenas, even the boss of the Black Snake Society is afraid of them. Shoo, keep it down. Look at their muscles. It's definitely not a problem to fight 3 times a day. Last time they fought against their opponents, the scene was so bloody, even if they knelt down, they wouldn't let it go." Feeling the sinister gaze cast by the man in black, the person at the neighboring table was startled and quickly closed his mouth and lowered his head. Let's go, let's withdraw. Judging from this situation, something might happen. The girl at the neighboring table hurriedly left with her boyfriend, and the shop was filled with people leaving one after another. "Little girl, I'll borrow the vinegar from your table." The hyena led by it rubbed its chin and looked at Meng Xiaobei. Meng Xiaobei glanced at him without saying a word, his cold fingertips brushing over the table, and a smile on his lips, leaving only a hint of coldness and lightness. "He's 80% interested in you," Elle said coldly. Meng Xiaobei hesitated for a moment, and his hand holding the vinegar bottle stopped in mid-air. "Wow, this girl is really amazing. Come over and have a drink with me. If my mouth is sweet, I'll be gentle with you then." The hyena, led by him, scanned Meng Xiaobei up and down in a lewd manner. A gust of chills surged from the stomach to the chest, and if not careful, one would spit out a mouthful. Meng Xiaobei involuntarily clenched the small vinegar bottle in his hand. "This is irrational, dear, impulse is a demon." Elle's words didn't end. Bang! The vinegar bottle flew out without thinking and accurately hit someone's nose bridge. The small vinegar bottle seems to contain rocket-like impact. The hyena led by him stumbled and fell to the ground with a loud bang. He touched his nose with his hand, and the bridge of his nose visibly collapsed. Nose blood mixed with vinegar flowed down his fingers. The originally noisy store suddenly fell silent, and everyone's eyes turned to it. "Give you 5 seconds, go." Meng Xiaobei pointed at him with a cold tone, resolute and resolute. "Oh ha! You have a good temper, dare you make me leave?" The other black-clothed people stood up, rotating their arms. Customers rushed to the door of the store, which immediately made a pot of porridge. The stone tugged at Meng Xiaobei and said, "Run quickly," only to find that her feet were as motionless as if they were rooted. "Calm down, baby, don't expose your identity," Elle reminded Meng Xiaobei in his earphones. Several black-clad men had already rushed to her in thought. Meng Xiaobei didn't have time to think much, so he reached out and grabbed a chopstick in his palm. The speed is as fast as 0.0001 seconds, almost without leaving any shadows. In fact, the moment she reached out, the chopsticks were controlled by her mind and flew into her hand. Due to the speed, no one noticed any abnormalities. Before the man in black could stand still, Meng Xiaobei flashed past the two of them and, at lightning speed, poked a chopstick at the back of their heads, causing them to lose consciousness in an instant. Meng Xiaobei grabbed one of them by the arm, turned around, and with a backhand, he threw it over his shoulder. Although his seemingly weak shoulders contained 1,000 pounds of force, the person was thrown to the ground like a sandbag. The cold gaze shot towards the left side of the black clothes, and in the moment of turning his head, Meng Xiaobei quickly punched the other person in the chest. Pop, pop, the two of them almost fell to the ground at the same time. The speed was so fast that the people around couldn't even see what she had done. They only saw her easily flash by, wave her arm, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them had already fallen to the ground. "Actually, you can hurry up," Elle pointed out her shortcomings in the headphones. At this moment, the last person in black finished eating the dumplings and wiped his mouth as if nothing had happened. As soon as he stood up from the chair, his body had not yet stood straight when he was poked in the back of his head, and he instantly lost consciousness and lay on the table. Meng Xiaobei couldn't help looking at him a few more times. This is a bit interesting. The shop has made a pot of porridge in disorder, and he can eat dumplings quietly. Retrieving his gaze, Meng Xiaobei walked calmly and disappeared from everyone's sight. "I'll go, Xiaobei." "No, Mr. Bei. How did you do it?" Stone followed behind Meng Xiaobei, speaking excitedly. Stone is the only person around her who has ever seen her perform a unique skill, and every time she uses a bunch of excuses to cover it up. Although Stone's head may be dull, after many attempts, one can vaguely feel that Meng Xiaobei is not an ordinary person. "Don't make a fuss, it's just a few drunkards," Meng Xiaobei glared at him. "You forget that I've learned kung fu before." Crossing an intersection, Meng Xiaobei stopped and leaned against a lamp post. She took out a men's wallet from her pocket, unzipped it, pulled out a stack of money from inside, and counted it, 3,006. "Damn it, when did you touch it? Why didn't I notice?" Stone opened his mouth and couldn't believe his eyes. "Can you still call it stealing if you notice it?" Meng Xiaobei gathered the money and said, "Just the unlucky guy on the table in the end." After speaking, she patted all the money onto the stone's hand and said, "It's all yours, Xiaobei." The stone's mouth opened again as soon as it closed, froze and didn't dare to take the money. Meng Xiaobei stuffed the money into his pocket and turned to walk forward, saying, "Don't keep talking about your affairs outside, and don't tell me anything. I don't know where you like to go. I'm not in vain. I made you this friend for nothing." Suddenly, there was a choking sound in the stone's voice. "Who is your friend now?" Meng Xiaobei frowned and turned to look at him. "Don't be foolish, okay? Continuing forward with his head down, Meng Xiaobei flipped through his wallet. Membership card, it's not very useful, throw it away. Fitness card, it's not very useful, throw it away. Bank card, it's not very useful, throw it away. ID card, it's not very useful, throw it away. Wait, the avatar on her ID caught her gaze. What's her name? Meng Xiaobei carefully examined his ID card and Chen ran. She looks pretty good, she's a handsome guy who rarely catches her eye. Unfortunately, he's a hyena, what's his name? Ran. Meng Xiaobei took out a lighter and lit his wallet with a click. In the quiet dumpling shop, there was only the last person in black who fainted. Chen Ran lay on the table and slowly opened his eyes. He looked around and saw that the several black-clothed people who had just been injured were nowhere to be seen. The customers in the store had also left completely. Damn it, I was just poked by something, and Chen Ran touched the back of his head. This luck is really unlucky, even if he comes out to eat, he can be ambushed by someone. Chen Ran stood up in frustration, took out his wallet in his pocket, and prepared to go and pay the bill. He was stunned as soon as he took 2 steps. Why is my wallet gone? Taking out his phone, Chen Ran dialed Li Boheo and ordered him to come and rescue him. Leaving a huge question mark in my heart. What exactly is that duckbull girl from? Thank you for your strong support. At Feitian Magical Piggy at Lone Shadowy Hao at Grid Case at Qingben Rushi at Chief Officer at Yang Laohao at Hidden Not Worried at Soy Sauce Queen at Winchi at 0 Degree Time Reading at Ishi Xianyun at Niter at Leaving Seeds at Its Lufa West Asia at Lonely Yaki at Half Step Scholar at Guest Serving Tea at Purple Mansion Cloth at Daofa Nature at Tasty Dad at Aerospace Father Ship at Yunshui Moyang at Hixie Giant Slim. At Xingyuan at Potato at Snow White Cat at Ear Talk. At Mao Kujiu at Dog Uncle Lonely Cold at One May Cute Rabbit at Luzwahu at Zai at Zichong Love Movie at Summer Lilac at Buddha Style Little Master at Qianmeng at Remembering Old Ling. Please forgive me for not being able to count each one. Thank you all for your votes, especially for the huge number of votes supported by at Feitian Magical Piggy. Thank you for your comments in the book, especially my dear old friends. I am very moved. I bow here in August and love you. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. A Dog Like Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. A Dog Like Life. The dim night, the street lights on the roadside, and the lights emanating from the intricate illegal buildings, render Ligongling into a riddled honeycomb ball. I can't see the people in the corners of the street clearly, but as I walk on the road, I can always hear screams and cries coming from the alley. In this kind of environment, summarizing in one word is chaotic. Of course, Ligongling is known for its chaotic appearance, with a large territory and outstanding ability to hide dirt and grime, making it the most chaotic place in the southern capital. Every day, there are various thugs who bully and dominate the market, performing the scene of "I can't kill you" with great dedication. The prominent words "strictly control the area" on the sign standing at the intersection have little effect other than warning pedestrians of the danger in this area. Meng Xiaobei sent the stone back to Uncle Chiu. Uncle Chiu has about 10 self-built buildings and multiple storefronts in Ligongling, among which there are many illegal constructions. Following a long slope all the way up, Uncle Chiu's old nest is at the end of the slope, and the several houses connected to it are his inherent property. 7 or 8 meters away from the end of the slope, a short scream came from a nearby building, followed by a man's roar. "Get the hell out of here!" Before Meng Xiaobei could react, a thin figure flew out of the doorway and landed heavily at the foot of the stone. The girl who was thrown to the ground is called Xiaohua, the daughter of Big Hammer's wife. When Big Hammer's wife came from out of town, she said Xiaohua was his child, but Big Hammer didn't recognize her at all. A 13-year-old girl, thin as a paper figure, Meng Xiaobei always worried that if she walked on the road and a strong wind blew, she could fly like a kite with a rope tied to her. The road here is bumpy and uneven, and Xiaohua's elbows and knees should have been worn out when she fell to the ground. She lay on the ground for a while, struggling to stand up. Stone glanced into the room, hesitated for a few seconds, and reached out to help her. Xiaohua looked back nervously, pushed away the stone, and crouched down towards the wall. Oh, the sound of a sledgehammer came from the head of the room. The stones are overflowing with love again. Startled by the sound of the sledgehammer, no flooding, hammer brother, today. Stone quickly stretched his neck and stepped into the door. Meng Xiaobei frowned and walked towards the door. Under the gloomy wall, only Xiaohua trembled and made a mosquito-like voice. Sister Xiaobei, help me. Meng Xiaobei paused and said, There are quite a few people in the room, and Uncle Chiu has nothing serious to do. In his free time, he either plays mahjong or drinks tea and eats melon seeds. Uncle Chiu does not have a strict sense of gang or gang. If there must be, these individuals in front of him are the backbone of the gang. Stone walked into the house first, lowered his head and didn't dare to look at the crowd. He quietly leaned against the wall and walked towards the courtyard behind him. There is a row of illegal buildings in the backyard, and Stone lives in one of them. Where are we going? Hammer stood at the back door blocking him. He reached out his hand to touch the stone, and then shouted. This is a waste dim sum. My courage is getting fatter and fatter. I dare to run back with empty hands. The people in the room were playing mahjong, and no one looked up at them. Until Meng Xiaobei stepped in, Uncle Chiu lifted his head and threw the mahjong aside. Xiaobei, why are you only here now? Have you eaten yet? No, my stomach is not very comfortable. Meng Xiaobei frowned and sat down by the sofa. Monkey, the kitchen has cooked some congee. Go and get a bowl for Xiaobei. The monkey responded naturally and went to the kitchen. The sledgehammer still stood at the door interrogating the stone. Uncle Chiu didn't even give them a corner of his eye, so he sat in front of the coffee table and started brewing tea. He scalded the tea set with boiling water and sighed, You have another stomach ache. How old are you? It's not good to keep doing this. Uncle Chiu always speaks slowly and politely. To be honest, Uncle Chiu treats her and her grandfather quite well. But Meng Xiaobei knew that it was all because she had the ability. The monkey brought a bowl of congee and handed it to Meng Xiaobei. Meng Xiaobei took the porridge and took a sip with a spoon. She didn't like the faint taste of white porridge, but she had to drink this congee because Uncle Chiu let her drink it. She is not afraid of Uncle Chiu, and even has a strong aversion to some of his actions. If she wanted to leave, Uncle Chiu couldn't stop her at all. The reason why she was willing to stay was because Uncle Chiu took good care of her grandfather, who was also willing to accept his help. Uncle Chiu took a sip of tea and leaned against the sofa. Xiaobei, you'll be going to your mother's place in a few days. Don't forget the group of brothers here then, he said. Uncle, how could it be? Meng Xiaobei understood Uncle Chiu's implied meaning. He was unhappy that Meng Xiaobei had left, but he couldn't force her to stay. Meng Xiaobei's mother Zhao Minji was the wife of Su Shilin, a famous figure in the southern capital. After Meng Xiaobei's biological father went missing, Zhao Minji remained indifferent to him. If it weren't for treating his grandfather, Meng Xiaobei had no intention of recognizing his biological mother. Uncle Chiu is a smart person who knows very well that he can't keep Meng Xiaobei. Instead of forcefully interfering with him, it's better to climb the high branch of the Su family with ease. Meng Xiaobei finished drinking congee, and just put down the bowl. She heard a scream outside the house. She looked up, and the stone was hit into the backyard by a sledgehammer. Uncle Chiu still held the cup and drank tea, enjoying himself without even lifting his eyelids. Meng Xiaobei furrowed her brows, disgusted by the bully dog like the sledgehammer, and the second in command acted like a free thug. Where's Ah Huang? Where did you get Ah Huang? The stone fell to the ground, holding onto the leg of the sledgehammer. Ah Huang is a stray dog picked up by Stone. When Stone was strolling on the street, he saw a skinny dog flipping through the trash can, so he kindly fed it something to eat. As a result, the dog followed him all the way home. Ah Huang! Where the hell is it? Stone asked persistently again. Meng Xiaobei glanced at Uncle Chiu and seemed to sense a hint of something unusual in the other person's eyes, but couldn't be certain. Someone in the room sneered, their voice tinged with inexplicable schadenfreude. Fuck you. Probably annoyed by the stone's persistent questioning, the sledgehammer forcefully pulled out its leg and kicked the stone. I ate that broken dog and stewed it in a pot. What happened? Meng Xiaobei almost missed a sip of tea and suddenly turned his head to stare at the sledgehammer. What are you talking about? The stone was so shocked that its eyes popped out and roared fiercely. Who let you eat my dog? He got up and punched the back of the sledgehammer. Stone knew that his punch was more capricious than hitting the weight with an egg. The fist of the sledgehammer was really like an iron hammer. Every time he pinched his 5 fingers, Stone felt like he could turn into a meat cake at any moment. However, he had already pounced, and the next second the stone was indeed flying 2 meters away. Without realizing the intense pain caused by the impact of his body on the ground, the sledgehammer walked over again and stomped on his leg without letting go. He spat on the ground with a curse. All of them are his mother idlers. What's the use of raising them? Meng Xiaobei couldn't bear to watch anymore. He stood up and took 3 steps in front of the sledgehammer, which was about to kick towards the stone's belly. She was not afraid of the sledgehammer at all. When she followed Uncle Chiu to collect rent, the sledgehammer didn't know where to hang out. Uncle Chiu's preference for the sledgehammer is mostly due to his imposing physique, which allows him to intimidate many people with just one stop in the team without any physical exertion. The sledgehammer looked at Meng Xiaobei, but he didn't like her anywhere. A girl held a face all day long, and Uncle Chiu even offered her as a treasure. You mind my own business, he said, reaching out his hand to push Meng Xiaobei away. Meng Xiaobei grabbed his wrist and squeezed it slightly with force. The sledgehammer immediately felt the bones almost shatter. He swung his other fist and was about to smash Meng Xiaobei. Uncle Chiu coughed and walked out of the room. He glanced at Uncle Chiu and stopped his hand in mid-air. What's going on? Uncle Chiu held a teapot in his hand and said calmly with his eyes tilted towards the sledgehammer. Do you still know where this is? It should be your home, right? I don't even pee and take care of myself. Did you beat your own children like this? You're impressive. After saying these words, Uncle Chiu lifted his chin at the monkey and said, help him in. The monkey quickly went over to try to lift the stone. As soon as the stone's foot was lifted, it felt a piercing pain and immediately sat down on the ground. Did it fold? The monkey's light and floating tone was as ordinary as saying, did you eat it? The stone gritted its teeth and struggled to move the monkey back. Meng Xiaobei turned his head and whispered to Uncle Chiu, Uncle, his leg needs to go to the hospital for a check. Up. Uncle Chiu let out a and took a sip of tea. Oh, that's great. I can't even see a single penny, so I have to stick it upside down outside. Meng Xiaobei frowned and didn't speak. She only knew that if she didn't say a word for Shirtu Duo, Uncle Chiu had no intention of taking him to the hospital. His leg could only be treated by a local doctor on the street, and he would most likely become lame. Thank you for your strong support. At Feitian Magical Piggy at Lone Shadow Ihao at Grid Case at Qingben Rushi at Chief Officer at Yang Laohao at Hidden Not Worried at Soy Sauce Queen at Wenqi at 0 Degree Time Reading at Ishi Xianyun at Niter at Leaf Seeds at its Lufa West Asia at Lonely Yaki at Half Step Scholar at Guest Serving Tea at Purple Mansion Cloth at Daofa Nature at Tasty Dad at Wind Passing Through No Ink at Cloud Water Mo Bu at Hixie Giant Slim at Xingyuan at Potato at Snowy White Cat at Ear Talk at Mao Kujiu at dog uncle lonely cold at a cute rabbit at Luzwahu at Zai at Zichong love movie at summer lilac at Buddha style little master at Qianmeng at nostalgia for old Ling, at burning night at inexplicable tears at lonely fragrant person at burning 15 at your body's triple snow at Judaichi. Please forgive me for not being able to count each one. Thank you all for your vote support, especially for the huge number of votes from at Feitian Magical Piggy. Thank you for your comments in the book, especially my dear old friends. I am deeply moved and bow here in August. Love you. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Meeting again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Meeting again. On Friday morning, a black Mercedes-Benz drove into the villa courtyard of the Su family in Nandu. Madam, as soon as the car stopped, a middle-aged woman in a navy blue shirt eagerly opened the car door and greeted Zhao Minji with a smile as she got off the car. She saw Meng Xiaobei and Zhao Muqing behind her with a surprised expression on her face. Zhao Muqing is over 70 years old, with a thin and emaciated face. The skin on his face looks like withered leaves with no radiance, and scattered old age spots crawl from his neck to his face. Only those eyes seem to be fighting against life, shining brightly in the deep sunken eye sockets. Lin Mama, Zhao Minji instructed the butler with some fatigue, these are Xiaobei and my father. Take them in and settle down first. I have arranged a meeting with friends and need to go out. Zhao Minji turned around and got into the car, and the driver started the car and left. For this ex-husband's daughter, Zhao Minji rarely fulfilled her responsibility as a mother, and since she met Su Shilin, she has been abandoned by her own father. Zhao Muqing raised her alone and never troubled her. Although he is the child's grandfather, he has no obligation to raise the child for her. This kind of friendship can be said to be more important than Taishan. Zhao Minji was well aware that the old man's attempt to find her this time had a hint of supporting her as an orphan. As a biological mother with a blood relationship, she couldn't find any reason to avoid it. As soon as Zhao Minji's car drove away, Lin Mama's expression quickly changed to indifference. As she was leading the way ahead, the corners of her mouth secretly curled, and she couldn't hide her unwavering disdain. No matter how beautiful she looks, no matter how parasitic she is, she cannot compare to the authentic Miss Su Jiayin of the Su family. Moreover, there is a young master Su Haoning who excels in all aspects by studying at a prestigious university in the Su family. Su Haoning is the son of Su Shilin and his deceased wife, and his prestigious status goes without saying. Su Jiayin is 1 year younger than Meng Xiaobei. She is not only handsome, but also intelligent and has excellent academic performance. The most impressive thing is that she plays the piano well and excels in drawing. She is seen by many parents as the child of others, teachers as the best, and classmates as the perfect goddess. When Zhao Minji talked about Su Jiayin, her face was filled with uncontrollable pride. The entire Su family regards Su Jiayin as a treasure. Lin's mother placed the two directly in the guest room on the 3rd floor. Zhao Muqing was very satisfied with the housing, and his granddaughter finally had a decent place to settle down. Even if she died, she could rest in peace and say, "Bebe, this will be your home from now on." Meng Xiaobei frowned and didn't answer her grandfather's words. If it weren't for her grandfather's treatment, she wouldn't have agreed to move into the Su family. This Lin mom, she's full just by looking at it. After putting down his luggage, Meng Xiaobei helped his grandfather to the opposite room and helped him arrange the things in the room. Taking advantage of her grandfather's rest, Meng Xiaobei greeted the servant at the door and left, feeling suffocated by the air here. The stone's leg is still broken. If she doesn't keep an eye on it, no one will probably take him to the hospital. Meng Xiaobei called a car and returned to Ligongling. In the afternoon, Chen Ran slowly climbed forward while driving on the road, stopping and pausing. Since coming out of anger at home, he hasn't gone to Henjia Hospital for a long time, one of the industries of the Chen family in Nandu. The road conditions today are as congested as usual, making people lose their temper. The red light ahead came on, and Chen Ran released the accelerator and slowly pressed the brake, causing the car to stop in front of the white line. He patiently tapped the steering wheel with his waiting fingers, watching from the rearview mirror as a small bread truck slowly approached from the right lane with the window open. Chen Ran couldn't help but take a second look. It wasn't because of how outstanding this car was, but because in this extremely cold weather, the only car on the entire road with open windows that implemented environmental protection to the end was this one. Meng Xiaobei slowly parked the car next to him in a small bread car. The traffic flow at this intersection is very high, and the road where Meng Xiaobei is located is not the main road, so the waiting time for the red light is heartbreaking. Stone sat in the back seat of the car, while Monkey and Akang lowered their heads and played with their phones, sitting on either side of him. Meng Xiaobei leaned his head against the car seat and tilted his head to look out the window. The window of the car opposite suddenly slowly lowered, and the person sitting in the driver's seat was also looking towards her. Damn it! No, hyenas! Meng Xiaobei stared at the other person and was suddenly startled. Subconsciously, he became alert and wondered if he had been followed again. When the other person's gaze met his own, Meng Xiaobei finally pulled his thoughts back from 100 possible scenarios. That unlucky guy has a face like a clear breeze and a bright moon, with a faint smile at the bottom of his eyes. He is sparse and sharp, highly overlapping with the photo on his ID card. Meng Xiaobei's face inexplicably felt a fever, and just as she was awkwardly preparing to twist her head, the other person's mouth suddenly moved. Due to the other person's extremely soft voice, she couldn't hear what he was saying clearly, but her mouth shape and expression were incredibly clear, causing her, who had always been calm, to be instantly ignited. That guy said, "Look at the bullshit." That's right. Meng Xiaobei replied to him. As the Guanban car was slightly higher than the small bread, Chen Ran looked down on her with a slight hint of excitement, so he added, "You're just a fart." Chen Ran didn't know if he heard her, but suddenly a smile curved around his lips and he looked at her carefully before slowly raising the car window. Sick! Meng Xiaobei glared at him angrily, even though the other party had already closed the car window. The green light ahead is on. Meng Xiaobei glanced at Guangbin next to her and suddenly stepped on the gas pedal. Little Bread slammed and rushed out as she released the clutch. There is probably no other person besides her who can make the Little Bread look like this. Meng Xiaobei turned the steering wheel and squeezed in front of the Guangbin car in less than half a second. From the rearview mirror, she saw that the car in the back had just started and she immediately stepped on the brake, which made her feel quite relieved and her stomach pain had eased a lot. Meng Xiaobei used this stop and stop method to tease Guangbin all the way back and drove a long way. After passing several intersections, there was no intention of the cars behind turning. Not far ahead is Henjia Hospital. Meng Xiaobei turned the turn signal and turned into the entrance of the hospital's car. The Guangbin car almost followed in against her car but... How many meanings do you mean? Are you still tracking at this level? Meng Xiaobei scanned the surroundings with his eyes, thinking in his mind where it would be more appropriate to clean him up later. The hospital is very large, looks clean and tidy, high-end and upscale. After finding an empty spot in the ground parking lot, the monkey and Akong walked towards the emergency room with stones on their backs, followed by Meng Xiaobei. I don't know why, but as soon as she arrived at the hospital, her stomach felt telepathic and began to stir up. After only a few steps, she wanted to squat on the ground and rest. When she had enough rest to stand up and continue walking forward, she found that the stone was lying on the ground. There was a Santana parked less than a foot away from him lying down, and Monkey and Akang were arguing with the owner of that car. Meng Xiaobei understood at a glance that this is a typical case of porcelain collision. I'm really speechless about those three people in my heart. I didn't have time to go to the hospital last time, and by the way, I wanted to settle the medical expenses. Don't argue anymore, the surveillance footage is showing. It happens that this is the hospital. Just go up and check it out, and you'll know. The monkey rolled up his sleeves and spat fiercely at the person. A Kong and Sher grabbed the man's arms and hugged his legs tightly. Friends who have passed by, please provide more support, ask for tickets, ask for tickets. At Lonely Shadowy Hao at Grid Case at Chief Officer at Yang Lao Hao at Hidden Buyu at Soy Sauce Queen at 0 degrees time reading at Yi Shi Xian Yun at Niter at its Lufa West Asia at Half Step Scholar at Guest Tea at Purple Mansion Cloth at Eagle Flying at Tasty Dad at Wind Blows Without Ink at New Leaves at Cloud Water Mobile at Potato at Snowy White Cat at Ear Talk at Dog Uncle Lonely Cold. At a Cute Rabbit at Luzwahu at Child Insect Love Movie at Insect Worshipper, at Shu Sangzi at 2019123120363006 at Buddhist Master at Qianmeng at Burning the Night at Inexplicable Tears at Lonely Fragrant Person at Chuanqi Lao Dao at Ugly Cow Reading Files. Please forgive me for not being able to count them one by one. Thank you for your vote and feedback. I have struggled with writing this book, and your support has given me great motivation. I bow here in August and love you. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Why Track Me? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Why Track Me? Chen Ran parked his car in a dedicated parking space in the underground garage, which was once his exclusive parking space, and of course, it is now. Today is Friday, and Chen Ran promised his father that he must come to the hospital on the last working day of each week to solve the difficult and complicated problems encountered by various departments every week. This is the only condition that his father has put forward for him to abandon medicine and enter business. Master Ran, you're here, the garage security guard chuckled as he opened the fire door leading to the elevator. After leaving the elevator, Chen Ran went to the third-floor medical room and changed into a white coat. He slowly buttoned his mouth and suddenly felt a chill in his neck, followed by difficulty breathing. He was strangled by someone from behind. Why are you following me? Tell me, who sent you? It was a girl's voice, light yet cold and powerful. Chen Ran's head was tightly confined and unable to move. He saw a face wearing a duckbill cap from the glass in the opposite storage cabinet, which was not very clear. He suddenly felt angry and amused. Isn't that what I should ask you? His neck was choked and he couldn't make a sound. He put away his left fist that almost hit him, extended a finger, and pointed to his mouth. At this moment, a hurried female voice came from outside the door. Dr. Chen, patient 504 is talking nonsense again, and the slightly closed door almost opened in sync with the sound. Meng Xiaobei was taken aback in his heart. With a speed that was beyond ordinary people's comprehension, the moment he released his hand, it had turned into a silhouette and swept out of the window. Nurse Xiao Wang rushed in eagerly and said, Dr. Chen, please go and take a look. That person always says he has bugs in his head. Chen Ran rubbed his neck and didn't pay attention to Xiao Wang. He turned around and ran towards the window behind him, poking his head out and looking out, suddenly stunned. There's nothing outside the window. How could that be? There is no place to hide in this room. How did she disappear? Chen Ran turned around and nodded at Nurse Wang. Got it, I'll go over right away. Nurse Wang sweated a little and turned away, completely unaware of what had just happened in the room. Chen Ran buttoned the last button and went out with the little nurse. At the entrance of the emergency room on the second floor, Stone and Monkey were arguing with the unlucky victim about how to compensate. It's not surprising that there is such a noise in the emergency room. Every day, there are people arguing about certain disputes, making it even more lively than the market. 4,000 is too much for you. The monkey pointed at a man with a face full of anger and shouted, just now the doctor said the bone was cracked. What else did you say? Hurry up. Take the money. I said I won't give it. The man also roared, a bone fracture is a bone fracture. Who knows to what extent it is? I'll give as much as you want. Who told you not to look in the rearview mirror? The hospital is full of people, don't you know? You're still driving so fast, Bakang said confidently beside him. The stone sat on the bench in the hallway, occasionally cooperating with a few painful moans. Meng Xiaobei leaned against the wall opposite the stone with his arms in his arms, watching the show with cold eyes. Seeing that the other party has already entered the trap, the remaining issue is to compensate more or less. Doctor. The monkey tilted its body and poked its head into the emergency room. Doctor, come over and take a look at this leg. How much did it cost to fold it? The doctor who was attending the clinic was on shift handover, and there were many patients inside. He looked up at him and threw him a sentence, "Don't worry, wait a moment." The monkey saw that the on-duty doctor didn't have time to pay attention here and retreated to the corridor to look around. Seeing a man in a white coat walking over not far away, he waved his arm and called out, "Doctor, are you a doctor? Can you please help take a look at his legs?" Meng Xiaobei looked at Chen Ran walking over in a white coat, his eyes so shocked that they almost didn't fall out. This person is really persistent, won't they stop until they achieve their goals? Let me see, Chen Ran nodded, who was injured. The monkey quickly pointed to the stone sitting on the chair and said, "He. Where did you hit?" Chen Ran crouched in front of the stone and asked. "You sound quite similar, but is it really a doctor?" Meng Xiaobei would like to see which one he sings. Chen Ran is no stranger to this situation. The emergency department often sees people coming over, including those with real fractures, those with old fractures pretending to be, and those who slip away as soon as they hear about filming. The formation is similar to the one in front of him. I have already determined the nature of these people in my heart. Returning to the doctor, can't you tell? Meng Xiaobei, who had been staring coldly next to her, pointed to the stone's leg, his voice very calm, in sharp contrast to her friend who kept shouting and making people's heads swell. Let me take a look first, Chen Ran gestured to him to lift up his pants legs. Does it hurt? Are you sure you're a doctor? Meng Xiaobei hugged his arm and looked at him with a cold tone and a hint of questioning. Have you ever seen anyone get hit so painless? Speaking quite aggressively, Chen Ran looked up at her without saying a word, and I look disdainful to argue with you. The calf has swollen up, but it looks like it's a new injury, and it's not minor. Maybe we need to be hospitalized. Chen Ran reached out and pressed to confirm. Hiss. The stone frowned, "It hurts." Moderate bone fracture in the calf, Chen Ran stood up and turned his head to look at Meng Xiaobei. What's his name? We need to take a picture. Stone, Meng Xiaobei replied. The stone has no name, and since he was picked up by Uncle Chiu, everyone has been calling him that. As soon as they heard that the bone had cracked and it wasn't too light, the monkey and a king started shouting around the man again. The man looked at his watch impatiently and asked Chen Ran, "Doctor, how long will it take to finish this?" "It's over an hour, it depends on the degree of bone fracture." Chen Ran took out his phone and called the radiology department, asking them to arrange a time to do it immediately. Chen Ran hung up the phone in the strange gaze of Meng Xiaobei. The man next to him was shouting so annoying that he put his phone back in his pocket. "You guys go prepare, you can do it in 10 minutes, he said and turned his head before leaving. Chen Ran inspected each department once and when he returned to the entrance of the emergency room, he found that the area had become much quieter. The unlucky man seemed to have left, and only the 4 young people were left in the chair. One of them is holding a stack of money in his hand. "Did you pay?" Chen Ran suddenly felt like half an accomplice. "Go to the first floor and pay the fee. The elevator is over there. After the film is taken, show it to the on-duty doctor." Chen Ran didn't ask much and explained, "The on-duty doctors are all very experienced doctors. You can rest assured." "Dr. Chen," Meng Xiaobei looked at him and said. Chen Ran turned around for a moment. How could she know her surname is Chen? "Thank you." Meng Xiaobei gave a rare thank you, although she couldn't rule out whether he was a hyena or not, he did help with the matter before her. Looking at her sincere gaze, Chen Ran smiled slightly and said, "You're welcome." The depth in her eyes flowed, becoming clear and transparent, wanting to melt the winter snow. Don't go out and lie around any more in the future, Chen Ran earnestly suggested. He stared at her face carefully and said, your digestive system is sick and can't withstand the turmoil. Meng Xiaobei. I'm not the on-duty doctor here, but I can provide you with a treatment plan, Chen Ran said, with a strong intention of saving the young man who fell asleep. He took out a business card and handed it to her. This is my business card. You can come to me when you have time. Meng Xiaobei suddenly felt his cheeks burning hot, feeling ashamed for the first time. He awkwardly took the business card and said, okay, thank you. Monkeys and stones seemed to have seen each other for a long time, dumbfounded. When have you seen Beijie and others with such an attitude? Friends who have passed by, please provide more support, ask for tickets, collect, and evaluate. At Feitian Magical Piggy at Lone Shadowy Hao at Golden Harmony Star at Chief Officer at Yang Lao Hao at Kangbayu at Soy Sauce Queen at 0 Degrees Reading at Ishi Xianyun at Niter at its Lufa West Asia at Half Step Scholar at Guest Serving Tea at Eagle Flying at Tasty Dad at Wenchi at I Won't Be Uncomfortable Anymore at Nine-Tailed Cat at Morning Wind Story at Unable to Be in School at New Leaf at Cloudy Water Mobu. At Potato at Snowy White Cat at Ear Talk in Detail at Dog Uncle Duguhan at Luzwahu at Child Insect. Love Movie at Insect Worshipper at Shu Sangzi at 2019123120363006 at Burning the Night at Lonely Fragrant Person at Chuanxi Lao Dao at Love Me Won't Be Difficult Anymore. Please forgive me for not being able to count one by one. Thank you for your vote, thank you for your evaluation. It is your support that has given me motivation. August Bose here, love you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Is really a perfect match. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 is really a perfect match. The monkey and a king divided the money into piles according to the person's head, patted the stone's head, and said, brother, you can rest assured in the hospital to treat your leg. Akang and I will go back to Ligongling first. Kong glanced at Meng Xiaobei and said, Sister Bei, are you coming back with us or not? You go back, I'll watch the stone, Meng Xiaobei said expressionlessly. Okay, then let's go first. Monkey and Akang waved their hands and left. Meng Xiaobei supported the stone and prepared to go to the radiology department. Let's go and take a photo first. They are taking special care of us, so there's no need to queue up, he said. Xiaobei, the stone hesitated for a few seconds before saying, let's go first. The stone gestured for Meng Xiaobei to walk towards the hospital gate while speaking. Meng Xiaobei was quite puzzled as he supported him, not knowing what he really wanted to do. Chen Ran's schedule today is quite tight, and every time he comes to Henjia, he has to solve a lot of difficult and complicated problems left behind. It's easy to handle the matter at hand, as it's already dark. When passing through the emergency room corridor, I met Dr. Liu from the radiology department. Dr. Liu greeted Chen Ran with a stack of washed-out films and said, Mr. Chen, didn't you arrange for someone to come over yesterday to take a film? He said he had a bone fracture, why didn't he come? Chen Ran was stunned. Didn't come. He was quite seriously injured, and his condition is likely to require hospitalization. Yeah, I didn't come. The two who came later did B.ultrasound, and a few took chest and brain X.rays, Dr. Liu said. Is it really a porcelain collision? Chen Ran suddenly felt a bit depressed. He has been very dedicated to his job these days. He has done the same trick as the real one. After finally getting injured, how could he be treated so quickly? He needs to hurry up and go to the streets to find the victim. Before coming to the hospital, he may have made a few mistakes, but he can still go through the hospital without treatment. Maybe he still went through the hospital 3 times without treatment. He remembered the sincere gaze of the girl with the duckbill cap and the clear and penetrating voice of Dr. Chen, thank you. Your acting skills are not bad. My leg is not treatable today, said Stone, limping out of the hospital and standing on the street looking around, looking for a cheaper black one. Why? Meng Xiaobei frowned and looked at him. Today, the money has been mostly divided between Monkey and Akang. If I can't get the money by the end of the year, the hammer can eat it for me. Stone looked down at his leg and said, take advantage of this great opportunity now. You're crazy about money, right? Meng Xiaobei looked at him with an impulse to beat him up. Ah! The stone was stunned for a moment. Meng Xiaobei remained silent and sighed for a long time. She knew that Stone wanted to secretly save some money to escape. It's not easy to get to the place where Big Hammer and Uncle Chiu can't find it. In my impression, there was a boy who ran to another province and was caught back. Later, the boy only appeared once and never saw him again. Meng Xiaobei has never been ashamed to touch porcelain. She was helpless in the situation of the stone, and although she tried to help secretly as much as possible, the fate of the stone was always held in the hands of others. Besides, she can't help him for a lifetime. Escaping from that wolf's den is the only way out for Stone. Stone looked left and right, waited for a long time but didn't see any sign of a black taxi. He turned his head and saw a taxi coming from across the street. He immediately waved his hand and shouted, "Hey! Here, here! Come here!" The taxi slowed down and then accelerated as it ran. I wipe it. What kind of service attitude is this? Sure was very unhappy, I see it. Is it that scary? Can you not act so urgently? Meng Xiaobei looked at him and felt his head ache. Ah! I'm not in a hurry, the stone touched his head. You're not far from robbing money like this. Meng Xiaobei looked at the distant street, and the layered shadows of the buildings began to flicker in the night. What kind of trouble is this? If you don't treat your leg early, be careful not to drag yourself into a limp. Hey! Stone sighed and didn't know what to say. Chen Ran took off his white coat, drank a large glass of warm water, and walked out of his exclusive office. Li Boheo is already waiting for him in the basement in his car. As soon as I stepped out of the hospital gate, I felt a cool breeze blowing, and on this day, my face changed quite well. The wind at night was noticeably colder than during the day. Chen Ran stood up his collar and ran into the parking lot. Getting on the car, Li Boheo sadly told him that his way home had become a long steel dragon. Where are you going to eat tonight? Chen Ran felt particularly annoyed with eating and didn't want to cook himself. He hired a cooking lady and tried several different dishes that didn't suit his taste. If he went out to eat, he had to figure out where to eat and what to eat. Hunan cuisine, Cantonese cuisine, Sichuan cuisine, Zhejiang cuisine. The 8 major cuisines and various Western cuisines revolved around in my mind like a cycle of songs, but I couldn't come up with a good idea. It was also quite confusing. It seems like there's another traffic jam ahead. When he stopped and waited, his phone rang. It was Chen Qi who called, "Have you finished work or eaten yet?" "No," Chen Ran responded weakly to her. "Are you so free today? Is there no one to treat you to dinner? That guy Gu Jinwen is willing to leave you behind this weekend." "How could it be?" Chen Qi smiled on the other end of the phone. "I miss you, sister. We have booked a table in the blue sea and clouds. Come over with Ah Hao." "Okay, I'm stuck here. It'll take about half an hour to arrive, right?" Chen Ran smiled and looked at it again. It didn't seem like a normal traffic jam ahead, crowded with a bunch of people. Hanging up the phone, he got out of the car and took 2 steps forward to see what was going on. A white car was parked on the left lane, and a little further ahead was the zebra crossing. A group of people stood on the zebra crossing and shouted. The blocked cars began to pile up one by one, and the cars behind didn't know what was happening ahead, honking their horns. "Did you hit someone? Or did you hit the porcelain?" Probably brainwashed by the wonderful performance of Meng Xiaobei and others in the hospital today, Chen Ran's first reaction was surprisingly a stroke of luck. He doesn't like to join in the fun or meddle in his own business, but just as he was about to turn around and get back into the car, a pretty eye-catching face came into his sight. Duck tongue cap. Chen Ran's eyeballs almost fell out, so he hesitated and walked over there. The stone lay on the ground howling as usual, but of course his legs were really painful, and the performance was 100% authentic. Meng Xiaobei had an impatient expression on his face, and with several onlookers pointing at the driver, it was clear at a glance that it was likely to be another business deal. The driver is a young elite man in his 20s, wearing a pair of glasses and looking handsome and irritable, surrounded in the middle. With the beep-beep of the car at the back, Chen Ran's soul was gone. Before he could walk to the side, he took out a stack of money from his bag and threw it in front of the stone, saying, "All right, hurry up, give way." Chen Ran stood in the crowd and sighed to himself, "Hey, another one who was so entangled that he ended up buying some money to settle down." He looked at the unlucky car owner, and if this guy wasn't in a hurry to leave, he might discuss with him about the many negative effects of hitting porcelain and indulging it on society. "I'm full and full." Chen Ran shook his head and walked back to the side of the car, then opened the door and got in. Meng Xiaobei did not see Chen Ran mixed in the crowd. In order to prevent bad luck, the victim regretted taking the money back. After Shirtu picked up the money, the two quickly evacuated. Sent the stone back to his secret base. The abandoned warehouse. Friends who have passed by, please provide more support, ask for tickets, collect, and evaluate. At Tian Hui at Lone Shadow E Hao at Golden Star of Harmony at Chief Officer at Yang Lao Hao at Haidyoyu at Soy Sauce Queen at 0 Hour Reading at Ishi Leisure Cloud at Neither at its Lophasia at Half Boo Scholar at My Guest, Tea at Eagle Flying at Wei Wei Dad at Zifu Cloth Clothes at Old Dao, Nonsense at Wenchi at Potato at Kitten at Ears, I can't count many more. Thank you for your vote, thank you for your evaluation. It is your support that has given me motivation. August Bose here, love you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Reunion Banquet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Reunion Banquet. In the evening, the Su family was already sitting around the dining table preparing to eat. On one side of the dining table, the maid at home is serving food and pouring wine. Su Shilin sat at one end of the dining table, raised his wrist to look at the time, and then glanced at the empty seat. Today is Meng Xiaobei's first time visiting the Su family, and this meal can also be considered a kind of family reunion dinner. The Su family is a prestigious family in the southern capital, and since their grandfather's generation, they have been considered a wealthy family in the southern capital. Su Shilin is just in his early 50s this year, not as wealthy as an average person of his age. He still retains some of his youthful demeanor, with a steady demeanor, gentle and elegant demeanor, and a pair of friendly and powerful eyes that inadvertently reveal a hint of sharpness that has been immersed in the business world. Zhao Muqing smiled to ease the atmosphere and said, "Xiaobei just called me. She is already on her way back and will arrive soon." Su Shilin nodded with a gentle expression, "It's not urgent, there's plenty of time." His wife Zhao Minji glanced at the empty seat and couldn't sit still. She tightly held a small cup in her hand, her face gloomy. Su Shilin is the master of the Su family, and as long as he doesn't speak up, almost no one dares to express any dissatisfaction. Zhao Minji was determined to leave a good impression on Meng Xiaobei in front of Su Shilin. She reminded Meng Xiaobei more than once to restrain himself and behave well when he arrived at the Su family. But this is only the first day, sigh. Su Jiayin sat gracefully at the dining table. Even though she was sitting, she looked like a typical lady from any angle, with a slight hint of aloofness that didn't match her appearance. Su Haoning lowered his head and flipped through his phone. A few days ago, Su Shilin had given him a vaccination, and he naturally knew the existence of Meng Xiaobei. However, this notorious sister did not lose much interest in him. The whole room was full of thoughts and didn't say much until Meng Xiaobei returned with a tired expression, and the atmosphere suddenly eased. "Sorry, I'm late." Meng Xiaobei looked at everyone apologetically and calmly sat down in the reserved seat for himself. The servant quickly handed over the warm wet wipes, and Meng Xiaobei took them over to wipe his hands. "It's nothing, today is quite special, and I'll get used to it gradually in the future." Su Shilin looked at Meng Xiaobei, showing as much affinity as possible. Su Jiayin secretly gazed at Meng Xiaobei's face, then withdrew her gaze very calmly. The other person leaned back on the chair, carefree and unrestrained, and after scanning the crowd around, she didn't take another look. She played with her phone in her hand, with a Bluetooth hanging from her ear. In her dull expression, there was a wild desire to leave. Su Haoning also glanced at the little sister who had fallen from the sky. The other party lowered their eyebrows and eyes, and from Su Haoning's perspective, they saw her beautifully contoured profile. Her curled eyelashes drooped low, occasionally flickering like a dragonfly. Feeling the gaze cast from his side, Meng Xiaobei slowly turned his head. Carrying a face that captivated all beings, with dark and clear eyes, calm and indifferent, completely different from Zhao Minji's restlessness. With his eyes facing each other, Su Haoning's hand paused slightly, then he curled his lips and smiled to show his good intentions. "It's really beautiful, I can't tell it's from Li Gongling." Zhao Minji keenly captured this scene and secretly rejoiced. Meng Xiaobei was truly beautiful. If she could win the favor of the young master of the Su family, her position in the Su family would be even higher in the future. After all, no matter how outstanding Su Jiayin is, she still has to get married in the future. The nanny quickly served dinner. During dinner, Su Shilin glanced at Meng Xiaobei and thought for a moment before speaking. "Xiaobei, from now on, we will be a family." Meng Xiaobei lifted his head and didn't say anything. Su Shilin looked at her and continued, "I have discussed with your grandfather and will take you to Nanda Middle School for an interview tomorrow." Meng Xiaobei nodded, with no expression on her face. Returning to school was one of the conditions she promised her grandfather. After Su Shilin finished speaking, the atmosphere at the dinner table underwent some subtle changes. Su Jiayin paused while holding the dishes, turned her head to look at Meng Xiaobei, with a smirk on her face. "Nanzhong. A key high school in the city, can she get in?" Of course, she didn't dare to say these words. She has long heard of Meng Xiaobei's deeds, such as skipping school, skipping classes, fighting, and dropping out. She has taken up all of them. How dare she agree to go to Nanzhong just like this? Even Lin Mama, who was waiting on the side, couldn't help but glance at Meng Xiaobei, and the mockery in her eyes was self-evident. In just an instant, it was hidden and returned to normal. "TSK, I really don't know the vastness of heaven and earth, I have no self-awareness." Zhao Muqing's face lit up with joy, and he looked at Meng Xiaobei, gesturing for her to thank Su Shilin. Meng Xiaobei put down his chopsticks and looked at Su Shilin in a calm tone, "Thank you. I have decided to go to 3rd middle school." Upon hearing this, Su Jiayin almost couldn't breathe a mouthful of rice and said, "3rd middle school, are you in the same school as me?" As is well known, number 3 middle school is the strongest high school in southern metropolis, with number 1 being a key high school. Those who are famous are difficult to enter, and the students inside are mostly selected and admitted by various schools based on their strengths. Basically, they are all academic achievers, and many people are unable to enter even with their heads sharpened. Su Haoning couldn't help but lift his head and give her a second glance. Su Shilin looked surprised and wanted to say it was unlikely, but he spoke gently, "The principal of Nanzhong is quite familiar with me, and I am confident that I can let you in. It will be difficult to say anything from 3rd middle school." "I know, but I still think it's better to go to 3rd middle school." Meng Xiaobei remained expressionless and his tone remained calm. Su Jiayin couldn't help but laugh. Immediately, she covered her mouth and obediently remained silent. Everyone in the Su family knows that Su Jiayin is the school flower of number 3 middle school and one of the top students in the 3rd year of high school. Her name can be found every time she takes a big exam. Zhao Minji's face stiffened, and Meng Xiaobei's grades were so poor that she couldn't even say it. She was already grateful to have a decent school to study at, and she even picked and chose. Is it so easy to enter 3rd middle school? Zhao Minji secretly cursed her for not knowing the superiority and inferiority of the world, and still felt anxious for her. If she encountered a nail in the head and turned around to beg Su Shilin, she would lose face and even be ridiculed by the Su family. Zhao Minji seemed to remember something. Xiaobei, I remember you seem to be good at drawing. Meng Xiaobei was holding a large shrimp in his hand, with his head down, peeling the shrimp shell carefully. His expression was casual, and he didn't even lift his eyelids, as if he hadn't heard Zhao Minji's question just now. Zhao Minji held her breath in her chest, and Su Shilin glanced at her. She suppressed her anger before swallowing the words she had prepared to teach Meng Xiaobei a lesson. Meng Xiaobei's posture is not very particular, leaning against the back of a chair, with both hands busy peeling shrimp on the dining table, one leg casually resting on the other, 7 times rebellious and 3 times arrogant. After peeling the shrimp in his hand, Meng Xiaobei raised his eyes. Upon hearing that Meng Xiaobei was drawing well, Su Haoning turned his head to look at her. Then he heard Meng Xiaobei casually say, "Draw." When she mentioned this, she straightened her body and leaned back in the chair, chuckling a few times. Her voice was dull, cold, and a bit tired. "Well, I can't draw, can I?" "How could that be? Didn't you love drawing since you were young?" Zhao Minji was surprised again, as she really knew very little about this daughter. "I remember giving you an extra training fee every year. Teacher Ma said you have a good talent in this area." "Oh, I like so many things," Meng Xiaobei slowly drew the shrimp line. "I had a fight with Teacher Ma, and after his concussion, the training class closed." A light and floating sentence, like a bomb, struck the ground and made everyone unable to react. What a pitiful expression and tone. The people at the dinner table looked at each other, with an eerie tone in the silent atmosphere. Thank you to all the visiting friends. Every word, comment, and vote you leave behind is the only motivation that encourages me to write. Apart from gratitude, I don't know what to say. August bows here. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. No need for you to worry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. No need for you to worry. L said in his earphones, "Baby, based on your current situation, it's not wise to provoke her." Zhao Minji has never really had contact with Meng Xiaobei, only knowing that she is a wild child who disobeys discipline and causes trouble everywhere. She didn't expect her to be so prickly. Zhao Muqing's face stiffened, and then he coughed lightly, gesturing for Meng Xiaobei to restrain himself. This child is not usually like this. In his eyes, Meng Xiaobei is the most dazzling existence in the entire universe. Su Shilin didn't react too much, just thinking that she was rebellious in her youth and couldn't accept the new environment at once. "Okay, let's go to number 3 middle school. I'll accompany you tomorrow, so you can prepare for tomorrow's interview first." "Tomorrow, I'll take my grandfather to the hospital first, and I'll go to number 3 middle school myself," Meng Xiaobei said seriously, looking up. Su Shilin's face showed a look of surprise. Zhao Minji's hands were trembling. Along with the servant beside them, they were whispering to each other below. "I really don't appreciate it. I thought I had a lot of ability, but when it comes to it, I'll give up and wait to see how you cry." The next morning, Meng Xiaobei woke up and finished washing up, then went to see her grandfather first. Mr. Zhao still lay in bed, knowing the purpose of Meng Xiaobei's entry, and spoke in advance, "I know. You don't need to remind me, I will go to the hospital." Meng Xiaobei sat in front of the bed, already guessing his grandfather's intentions, and spoke with a hint of blame, "You know you're deceiving me. If I don't go to the hospital, I won't go to school." For returning to school, Meng Xiaobei actually had a plan in mind for a long time. Becoming a student is more conducive to hiding his identity and being able to interact with more people besides Lei Gongling, which is a good thing for searching for the lost code of his other half. Mr. Zhao remained silent. Meng Xiaobei understood his thoughts and spoke softly, but with full confidence, "Grandpa, I will solve the money issue. Don't have any psychological burden." Zhao Muqing remained silent and skeptical of his granddaughter's words. He did not want Meng Xiaobei to neglect his studies due to money. When Meng Xiaobei went downstairs, he instructed the kitchen maid to bring breakfast to Zhao Muqing, and then he went to the restaurant. Su Shilin sat at the dining table displeased because of Meng Xiaobei's situation. Just now, in order to intercede for Meng Xiaobei, he went through a lot of trouble. Not only was he rejected by the teaching director of 3rd Middle School, but he was also educated by the other party. "Xiaobei, the possibility of entering 3rd Middle School is not high, and I have done my best. Director Wu has just put it to death. In your situation, 3rd Middle School cannot accept it." Su Jiayin sat on the right side of the dining table, finished the last bite of the sandwich, wiped her mouth with a napkin, and then took the backpack prepared for her by Lin's mother. When she stood up and left, she said, "Dad, 3rd Middle School has always only focused on grades, and relationships are not enough. Sister can only pass the exam based on her strength." She tidied up her attire with a tone that was down to earth, without any hint of mockery. Su Shilin's fingers tightened slightly, appearing slightly embarrassed in the gazes of those around him. He was quite embarrassed. As the famous leader of the Su family in the southern capital, he unexpectedly lost face on such a small matter that he thought was insignificant. "Zhang Bo, let's send Jia Yin to school first. Time is running out." Su Shilin reluctantly instructed the driver to send Su Jiayin away. Su Jiayin responded by carrying her backpack and standing at the door waiting for Uncle Zhang. After sorting out his mood, Su Shilin turned to Meng Xiaobei, who was casually drinking porridge with Bluetooth hanging from his ear in the opposite direction. Meng Xiaobei lowered his head, scooped up a spoonful of congee, blew it on his mouth, and then slowly swallowed it, with long and thin eyelashes drooping over his dark eyes. "Thank you, I will solve this matter myself." "Don't bother you," she turned her head and looked at Su Shilin seriously. "My grandfather must go to the hospital today, and I think this matter is more important than my school days." There was another silence in the hall. No one can believe that this was said by Meng Xiaobei. Lin Mama on the side couldn't help but glance at Meng Xiaobei, her eyes full of mockery. Zhao Minji finally couldn't help but let out a rebuke, "You solve it yourself." "How do you solve it?" She was a high school dropout, and the Su family took her in on their behalf, looking for a school for her. She not only didn't appreciate it, but also spoke so shamelessly. What kind of confidence did she rely on? Su Haoning, who had never spoken, was also visibly shocked. Su Shilin opened his mouth and didn't know what to say, not because of sending Zhao Muqing to the hospital, but because of Meng Xiaobei's affirmative tone, which was very similar to her father Meng Jinnan, which really made him feel a bit conflicted. The enmity between the Meng and Su families made Su Shilin sigh, and the past is unbearable to look back on. Su Shilin asked gently, "Xiaobei, are you really able to solve it on your own?" "Well," Meng Xiaobei said calmly, holding a spoon in one hand and drawing a circle in the bowl. She lazily raised her eyes, clearly with a confident and somewhat arrogant face, which clearly restrained her impatience. "Don't worry, I'll take my grandfather to the hospital in the morning and go to number 3 middle school by myself in the afternoon." After finishing speaking, she stood up from the chair and said, "I'll go help Grandpa pack up first," turning around and walking towards the stairs, calmly and not taking the surprised looks from the crowd to heart. Behind her, Zhao Minji was simply furious. "Who are you?" Su Jiayin left a sentence and followed Zhang Bo out. The saddest thing about people is that they don't have any self-awareness. Nandu number 3 middle school, grade 3 on the 4th floor. You can hear the chaotic and noisy sounds from class 10 of grade 3 in the hallway. We're going to have a new classmate in our class, some people whispered to each other. I heard he's a scumbag. Really? Men and women. Upon hearing these words, many people became interested and gathered together to explore gossip news. The boring and stressful life of high school seniors was one of the few pleasures. Female, but you may not be able to resist. Jiang Yihang supported his hands on the table, covering his mouth with joy. As soon as I heard it was a girl, a few more people piled up behind me, clearly feeling a little excited. What do you say? What do you say? Are you pretty? Lin Zixuan, who was sitting in the back seat, was lying on the table doing his homework, seemingly uninterested in the new female classmate in the class. Jiang Yihang looked at him and murmured softly, people with famous grass and masters are different. I'm not sure, it seems like a mother Tyrannosaurus Rex, Jiang Yihang said to the boy, patting his hand on his shoulder. Hey, I heard she dropped out of school for several years. Do you know where she comes from? Jiang Yihang leaned his head in between them and lowered his volume. Lei Gongling, strictly managed the area. After hearing these words, the thoughts of a group of teenagers suddenly cooled. The image of a pure and innocent girl in my mind was instantly shattered, and the image of a seductive girl from TV appeared. The mother Tyrannosaurus swung her biceps muscular arms, capable of killing a cow with just one punch. I instantly lost hope for my new classmates. Hey, it's scattered, a group of people laughed and dispersed, returning to everyone. In the corridor outside the classroom, homeroom teacher Xiao led Meng Xiaobei towards class 10. The competition between classes has always been fierce, and his class ranking has been hovering between the middle and lower grades. Now that the school has given him a lagging position, the evaluation of this year's excellent class and excellent teacher is likely to be suspended again. Although he was reluctant in his heart, he blamed himself for the cause of this matter. Meng Xiaobei followed behind him expressionlessly, and she didn't have much opinion on which class to enter and who would be the homeroom teacher. As soon as I thought about the situation in the principal's office just now, I secretly gave this school a rating that was not so impressive. Thank you to all the visiting friends. Every word, comment, and vote you leave behind is the only motivation that encourages me to write. Thank you so much for being such a shining star in my ordinary years. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Key talents to be cultivated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Key talents to be cultivated. Meng Xiaobei recalled the situation of just completing the procedures. Principal 1 is a rigid and rigorous old man. After reading the materials brought by Meng Xiaobei, he looked puzzled. The girl in front of him, who is wild and unrestrained, is completely unrelated to the introduction in the materials. He was only transferred to 3rd middle school last year, and he is not very familiar with the situation of the students, especially those like Meng Xiaobei who directly apply for leave after passing the exam. The seemingly delinquent girl in front of me actually took the middle school entrance examination 2 years ago and was approved by the Education Bureau to enter the 3rd high school. He held Meng Xiaobei's application for resuming school, as well as her previous school transcripts and teacher comments, with a puzzled expression on his face. In her student handbook, the teacher's evaluation was as bad as it was, with consistent absenteeism and poor grades in all subjects. So, does the Education Bureau still require key training? A rare talent. Principal Wen's head suddenly froze, unsure of which grade to put her in. However, he has been teaching for so many years, and this is not the first time he has encountered such a situation. There used to be students who took a break from school or went abroad to borrow from other schools, and then returned for tutoring in the last semester. She probably did the same, right? Principal 1 is improving her situation on her own. Meng Xiaobei has complete procedures, and the school has no reason to refuse her. Moreover, as she walked in, she immediately received a call from the director of the Education Bureau, Lin Changfeng, urging him to cultivate this female doll well. Meng Xiaobei sat in a corner of the office, and Principal 1 gave a brief introduction to the several homeroom teachers present. Then he lifted his glasses and looked at the people in the office. It's like this. She's a special student from our school who's taking a leave of absence and returning to school. She's been instructed to focus on training, and your classes are all pretty good. Who do you think can take care of her? One of the slightly chubby male teachers, after reading Meng Xiaobei's profile, immediately refused. Principal 1, I am taking a freshman year in high school, and according to her age, she should be at least in her third year. One took a look at Meng Xiaobei, who was sitting quietly beside the bookshelf, and asked gently, is it true that Director Lin said that you have completed all the courses in high school? Meng Xiaobei just raised his head and glanced at several homeroom teachers. His gaze finally fell on Principal Wen's face, with a calm expression. That's right, I originally wanted to take the college entrance examination directly, but Director Lin suggested that I go back to school to review for a period of time. The male teacher frowned and said, so you should have inserted her into the third grade of high school. She's already 19 years old and almost 20. Teacher Lu, are you right? Lu Huiru is the homeroom teacher of Class 1 in senior high school, and currently her class has fewer students than other classes. She picked up Meng Xiaobei's profile and looked at it again, her eyebrows furrowed. It's almost time for the college entrance examination, and she has to switch classes. Her poor grades are unbearable, which has a great impact on her class. Meng Xiaobei has been taking a 2-year leave of absence. Who can guarantee that she won't hold back? Lu Huiru retreated 3 feet without any interest. Teacher Xiao, I think this student is the most suitable to enter your class. Teacher Xiao is in his early 30s, tall and thin, with clear eyebrows and eyes. He is the homeroom teacher of Class 10 in his senior year. Lu Huiru and Xiao Tianhe are homeroom teachers in the same grade. The conflict between the two has a long history, and they have always been unable to agree. If there is one more sentence, they will argue. As expected, the two of them fought fiercely over Meng Xiaobei's matter. However, this argument is different from before. In the past, when a new student came to the school, everyone was basically competing for someone. Students who can be inserted midway have excellent grades. And this time, Meng Xiaobei was kicked back and forth like a ball, and no one wanted it. Teacher Xiao, you don't hurt your back when you stand and talk, Lu Huiru said angrily. Give your class a try. Who wouldn't say cold words? I know. I took your title as an excellent homeroom teacher 2 years ago, and you feel uncomfortable. You don't need to retaliate like this. Didn't you take it back this year? I didn't retaliate. She is a student designated as a key focus for training by the higher authorities, Xiao Tianhe said calmly and without showing any weakness. Your class ranks first, so of course you have to enter your class. Our class is a bit too advanced, maybe they still don't want to. Meng Xiaobei remained silent, half bowing her head. She was already indifferent to entering school, and even more indifferent to which class she entered. Anyway, in the end, these teachers would not have a good impression of her. If it weren't for agreeing to her grandfather, she wouldn't even want to come here. Upon hearing this, Principal 1 immediately spoke up and said, since that's the case, let Teacher Xiao take care of her. Xiao Tianhe suddenly froze, feeling a bit regretful for not having a fight with Lu Huiru earlier. However, the words he said could no longer be retrieved. He rummaged through the information in his hand and there was no further explanation in half a day. Principal 1 waited for a while and finally made a decision for him, all right, that's settled then. Xiao Tianhe could only nod and respond, no problem. He is different from Lu Huiru in that he is still willing to lend a helping hand to backward students. He used to be a backward student, thanks to his homeroom teacher who never gave up on him. Later, with the help of his homeroom teacher, he finally got into his ideal university. Xiao Tianhe glanced at Meng Xiaobei and silently prayed in his heart, hoping that this girl would not disappoint him. The noise in class 10 of grade 3 immediately calmed down with the sound of Xiao Tianhe pushing the door. It's quite lively, what's going on? We've all caught up in the market, should we give you a round of applause? We've finished all the math papers, haven't we? Xiao Tianhe scolded him abruptly as soon as he entered the classroom. The classroom was completely silent, with everyone staring at the podium in unison. After Xiao Tianhe finished speaking, he restrained his anger and turned his head to look in the direction of the door. You come first and make an introduction, he said. Meng Xiaobei calmly stepped in from the door, holding a stack of brand new books in his hand and wearing a freshly received school uniform on his shoulder. After scanning the classroom with his head up, he stood in front of the podium and spoke slowly, "Hello everyone, I'm Meng Xiaobei." Very polite language, spoken from her mouth with inexplicable coldness and arrogance. She freed her hand and took a chalk from the podium to leave her name on the blackboard. The handwriting is neat, elegant, and powerful. It's truly a person as their name suggests, with seemingly gentle movements that exude an indescribable wildness. Xiao Tianhe nodded to Meng Xiaobei, and then adjusted the class seat. Meng Xiaobei was arranged to sit against the wall in the fourth group, with a doll-faced girl sitting next to her. Li Xiaoxiao, Meng Xiaobei has just arrived and doesn't know much about our class. If you have time, please help her more, Xiao Tianhe gently reminded the girl next to her. The doll-faced girl blinked her eyes with a flicker, hesitated for a moment, and then suddenly realized. The little chicken nodded like pecking rice and said, okay. Then she stood up from her seat and slightly moved away. Meng Xiaobei then squeezed into the designated position. Jiang Yihang and a group of boys who had just lost hope for their new classmates stared blankly ahead, which was not in line with the serious rumors. Isn't it about Mother Tyrannosaurus Rex? It must be a nose and eyes, incredibly fierce. Why did a stunning and cold beauty suddenly appear? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Imperial Sister, Super Stylish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Imperial Sister, Super Stylish. Isn't it said that the new classmate is a Mother Tyrannosaurus Rex? It must be with a horizontal nose and vertical eyes, incredibly fierce. How can it be compared to this stunning beauty in front of me? However, now the rumors are unfounded. The whole class's gaze was focused on her. A slender figure, well-proportioned, with hair draped over her shoulders, a fair and beautiful face, and a pair of black and bright eyes hidden under long eyelashes, exuding fearless wildness and captivating beauty. The cool and carefree temperament overshadowed everyone in this space. The air in the classroom condensed, and everyone was controlled by her aura. Even Lin Zixuan, who had never paid much attention to girls, rarely raised his head and stared at her for a while. Wherever she went, both boys and girls put away their curious gazes, avoiding eye contact with her. After she passed by, they turned back and stole glances. I'm going, there's actually someone who looks like this. How should other girls live? It doesn't look easy to mess with. Yujie, you're so stylish. Who can win it? Hey, Jiang Yihang, your news is too far-fetched. There was a brief commotion in class 10, with many people whispering and buzzing along with various inhaling sounds. Meng Xiaobei sat by the wall, and the surroundings immediately quieted down. Sitting at her desk, Li Xiaoxiao lowered her head and quietly glanced at her. The other person casually took a book from their backpack and lazily leaned back on the chair, flipping through it without giving her a single glance, appearing as if strangers were not getting close. Li Xiaoxiao tried several times to approach her and introduce herself, but the other person didn't pay attention to her at all. The aura emanating from her whole body made her unable to open her mouth. Until the end of class, Meng Xiaobei reminded her, "Class is over, please give way." Li Xiaoxiao exclaimed, "Oh," before making the first conversation with her. After school, Meng Xiaobei went to the hospital again. Su Shilin had already completed the hospitalization procedures for Zhao Muqing yesterday and hired a professional caregiver. Meng Xiaobei found his grandfather's ward. The door was ajar, and one could hear the sound coming from inside. Meng Xiaobei paused as Uncle Chiu and Grandpa were talking. "Akiu, thanks to your care, Li Gongling has caused you a lot of trouble for so many years. Wherever it is, it's not troublesome. It's all a matter of hands. To be honest, I'm quite old and it's actually the same where I live. However, if I don't move, Xiaobei won't agree to go to school." Zhao Muqing sighed. "Unfortunately, I can't help Xiaobei find his father, and there's more. Brother Qing, your auspicious appearance will definitely be fine," Uncle Chiu comforted. "Besides, living a lifetime, no one has one or two regrets. You can rest assured to recuperate here, and don't worry about anything else." Outside the door, Meng Xiaobei coughed lightly and walked in. Uncle Chiu turned his head to look at her and curled his lips, forming a kind smile. "Xiaobei, how do you feel about your new home and school?" "That's it," Meng Xiaobei said calmly as he walked in. "It's okay, isn't it? Thank you for taking care of Uncle Chiu." Meng Xiaobei was secretly shocked. Is Uncle Chiu's visit to the hospital a suggestion? "Even after leaving Leigong Ridge, I am still your Uncle Chiu." Meng Xiaobei hates the feeling of being bitten and not letting go. Feeling unhappy in the heart, but not showing any displeasure. After a few casual greetings, Uncle Chiu left the hospital. Meng Xiaobei sat down by Zhao Muqing's hospital bed. "Grandpa, you don't have to be so strict with him. This is not Leigong Ridge, he dare not act recklessly." "Well, I have a count," Zhao Muqing said in a deep voice, with a slight hint of blood in his eyes and a worried expression. "We did indeed receive a lot of favor from him at Leigong Ridge. Now we're patting our buttocks and saying we'll leave, and it's uncomfortable for anyone. I'm afraid he might harm you. He has a kind and ruthless face, and he can do anything when he's in a hurry." Meng Xiaobei clenched his fingers and a milky white light shone on his face, adding a hint of coldness to his beautiful expression. "Grandpa, don't worry, as long as I don't argue with him, he won't do anything to me or you," he said. "Xiaobei." Zhao Muqing let out a helpless cry and handed Meng Xiaobei a key, pointing to an old wooden box. "Can you help me open that box? There's a hard drive inside. This box is like that old computer, and Zhao Muqing always carries it with him wherever he moves." Meng Xiaobei opened the box, which was full of old things collected by Mr. Zhao. A small box carefully wrapped with foam cotton layers should be the hard disk that Grandpa said. She took it out carefully. "Yes, that's it. Can you help me put it in the bank's storage cabinet? There are people entering and exiting here, so it's not very safe." "What's inside this?" Meng Xiaobei flipped around and said, "So precious. It's some backup data, keywords, and passwords that I left behind when writing L, and I may use them again in the future." Zhao Muqing looked at Meng Xiaobei. "There is a program inside that can be used to verify another part of L's missing code." Meng Xiaobei couldn't help but grip the hard drive. No wonder the old man was so careful with him by his side. After coming out of the hospital, Meng Xiaobei went directly to the bank to open a storage cabinet, put the hard drive inside, and then took a taxi back to Su Mansion. Lin's mother came out of the room and opened the door for her, with an indifferent expression and a look of disdain and scrutiny hidden in her eyes. "Miss Bei, you just came back. Come in quickly. Dinner is coming soon, and everyone is waiting for you." The meaning is very obvious. School has long been over, and you have only returned now, and everyone is waiting for you around the table. "I know," Meng Xiaobei didn't even look at her. The coldness in her eyes made Lin Mama's heart skip a beat, and she instinctively took a step aside. Meng Xiaobei entered the gate directly. Lin's mother regained her composure for a while, pursed her lips, but she was just an outsider, putting on some stinky airs. Su Haoning didn't go out today, and his family sat at the table eating. Su Shilin asked about Meng Xiaobei's interview situation, and upon hearing that she had already completed the admission procedures, Su Shilin was not only surprised but also puzzled. However, it saved him some favor and instead asked about Director Wu's situation. Director Wu really changed his mind again. Why did he suddenly change his mind? He thought that Meng Xiaobei would have to rely on him to spend money to get into third middle school this time. Who knew she could handle it so easily? Who is Director Wu? I don't know him. Meng Xiaobei raised his head, holding a spoon in his hand. I passed the exam seriously and was admitted to third middle school. I had been taking a leave of absence before. It was Director Lin who suggested that I return to school, and he urged me many times. I can't let down his kindness. The spoon of Su Jiayin fell onto the plate. A casual sentence stunned everyone present. How could this be? Isn't she a top academic scumbag? Fighting, absenteeism, truancy, confused grades, and clear evaluations from the teacher in the student handbook. When did she take the high school entrance examination? Lin Changfeng personally called to urge you. Others didn't know who Lin Changfeng was, but Su Haoning and Su Shilin had already heard of this person. An important figure in the southern capital, even the mayor would yield 3 points when he saw him, and the principal would have to make an appointment when he saw him. The family fell into a strange silence. Su Jiayin clenched the spoon in her hand, feeling that today's dinner was incredibly raw and difficult to swallow. End of this chapter.